I'm Lauren with Pack Hacker, and today we're going to be talking about the Gravel Travel Backpack System, which consists of the 42-liter backpack here, the 11-liter day bag, and the 2-liter sling. If you want to see more videos like this, be sure to give us a thumbs up so we can keep helping you find the right gear. This is going to be a bit of a long one, so buckle in and let's get into it. So the system that we have is the travel backpack system, and this includes this 42-liter carry-on travel backpack, an 11-liter travel day bag, and a 2-liter sling belt. So I'll talk about each one individually, but we're going to start with this 42-liter travel backpack here. So it does have a lot of features on it in general, but starting off with the materials are the same for each product across the board. So you have YKK zippers and hardware. So all of these buckles as well are also YKK. And then all of the shells are a 300D polyester with the TPO coating, which is actually something that's used like a lot in roofing industries. So what it is just super durable. And it just adds a little bit of extra protection and weatherproofing and things like that. And then there's additionally an outer, PU coating. So this thing is pretty durable. Over the course of my 2 weeks of testing, I really had no issues with anything damaging it or any, threads coming loose or anything really that could damage it. And I did take a couple of different trips with it. So I'll get into the individual features now. So we have these straps on the outside, which, starting off strong, these are actually straps that are sold separately. So you do have to buy these aftermarket, and it's kind of up to you if you think that they're worth it. So these are easy buckles. They attach to these loops on the side. Put these to the side there. And so you can see there's loop here, there, 2 down here, 2 here, and then 2 more up here. And then there's kind of loops all around this bag. So you can really configure this however you want. There are, if you wanted to put them so that they were stretching fully across this way on either side, or if you wanted to make a fun diagonal pattern, this does just kind of compress the bag down. So if you're going to be doing a lot of traveling and you're going to be throwing it in an overhead bin, something like that, it may be worth thinking about that just because it does really start to lock things down. So this is pretty easy. It's just a G-hook that hooks right in there and then hooks over on this side as well. Buckle it in, and then there's a fair amount of strap adjustment. So this strap keeper here, you can just kind of roll and fold as I did, or roll, or however you want to do it really. But you can lock it down, adjust it back out, however you need for what you're doing with this bag. So for the time being, I am going to take these off just because I'm going to be referencing them actually a couple of different times throughout the bag. Another thing on this front pocket here is this quick access pocket. So this one's pretty deep. My fingers go to about here. This is great. I used it mostly for like a phone or something like that I wanted to have really quick access to. You can do a passport or travel documents or anything like that. It's totally up to you in terms of your preference. And then that weather guard zipper as well. And then flipping to the top here, we have this carry handle that's pretty padded. It's really comfortable for grabbing. This bag, because it is 42 liters, is really just too heavy to carry like this all the time. So you are going to want to use these backpack straps, which I'll get into in a little bit. But up here is actually a hidden pocket. So it's hidden underneath this flap here. Unzip it, and then you can do passport. It's a passport size, or a wallet. But it's really, again, up to you. I put my wallet in here sometimes. It does impact kind of that sleek look of the front. But again, totally up to you, depending on what you want to do. It's a pretty tight pocket though, so keep that in mind. like it's a little hard to get to the zipper, so I wouldn't really put anything in here that you want quick access to, like a phone, only because I did find myself kind of like searching for the zipper and trying to really get my fingers in there, just because this, you know, fabric welt here comes really close to this back seam. So we'll move to this side. Again, another carry handle, pretty padded. And then this clip here is a compression strap, essentially. So it does lock your bag in a bit. I never really found myself needing this. I did find that like the structure here and here is pretty solid. So you could really shove it in if you want to, but for me, it was easier to just kind of leave it as is and then use these straps on the front if I wanted to lock it down a little bit more. And then these D-rings on either side to attach any, you know, additional accessories that you want, like a travel blanket or basically anything that you would want. And then more loops here for these straps. Going to the other side. A little bit of branding here, very subtle. This whole bag is very, very sleek. And then it's that same compression strap, but because there's a pocket here, you can use it for, you know, tripods or anything like that that's gonna be a little bit taller. And this does expand to give you additional space. So this here is my laptop stand. You know, I wouldn't necessarily always carry it like that, but it's a good example of what it would look like if you were to put something larger here. You know, if you were travel photography and you want to carry a tripod, that's a good place to do it. And then this pocket here expands, but it also unzips fully for like a full expansion. So kind of as an example here, this fits up to a 40-ounce water bottle. And this is the one that I use daily, as you can tell by the state of it. And this fits in super snug. So I didn't have to force it. It really slides in there nicely. And so if you are really, you know, into staying hydrated, as you should be, then this is a really great pocket for that. Because it does fit this water bottle, it's a huge plus for me personally, because I find myself carrying this every day. And that's something that you don't often see as a water bottle pocket that can accommodate a 40-ounce water bottle. So say you take your water bottle out, you don't want to carry it, you just reinsert the zipper, zip it right back up, and then it's really low profile. So you can see right on the side here that it sticks pretty close to the bag itself. And then same thing here, you can adjust kind of like, so it looks like that, which I find that I like the more squared off kind of style of it, just because it is really distinct. But if you do want to compress it down, you can just, you know, put a little bit of manpower into it and it works out great. And then a couple of the straps, rather than having a strap keeper for things like this actually just rolls up and Velcros. So you just roll it pretty simply like that, put it on the side, and then it's good. It's out of your way, it's not flapping around. They did a pretty good job at strap management on this thing, which is good because there are a ton of straps. So moving to the back of this pack here. This here is the sling. So what it does is it attaches at the base of the backpack, and then you can unclip it when you don't want it. We'll get into this next. But this here, these clips hide away right in these designated pockets here. So then you don't have to mess with them. And because this mesh here, this big mesh back panel, does come off this backpack pretty far, you never feel this, or at least I never did. So my back was off the backpack far enough that, you know, I didn't have any issues with this becoming uncomfortable. What I did have an issue with was getting them back out. So if I found myself wanting to put the hip belt back on, you know, this one came out pretty easily every time. This one gave me a little bit more trouble. So I found myself struggling with it more than once. It caught here a lot for me, just kind of in general. So I wouldn't call this like the speediest thing in the entire world, if you want to get this on really quickly, they advertise it kind of as being something where if you're on a plane and you have this on and you want to utilize the pockets, and then you put this travel backpack in the overhead bin, you can take this off really quickly and use it as your personal item, and just kind of keep it on your seat with you. But I would say prepare a little bit more, only because if this is on your body, it sits like this. Like this is, your hips are going to go right here, and it adds that nice support, but it's going to be a little bit harder to get off quickly just because these are behind you. So they tuck away like that. One more time. And then again, this back panel here, it has kind of this T shape, which is really nice because it did add a ton of airflow. So the upper part of my back and the lower part of my back here were really separated from the bag itself. And then this here is a luggage pass through. So it's like a ton of, like a huge gap. I mean, that's a fair amount of space there to put this onto, whatever rolling luggage you have, if that's how you want to do it. But what I did find is that it got to feel a little bit lopsided, because this here, spans the entire width of your upper back, your shoulders, whatever. And then down here, it's really only in this section of your back. So if the backpack moves around a little bit, or if you don't have this hip belt to really lock it in place, it feels a little awkward, like it felt like it was kind of teetering on the edge of my back. So I understand why, it's because you have to get to these buckles here. But something to keep in mind that, if this backpack is a little bit larger on you, like it is on me, even with the adjustments, which I'll get to in a second here, something to keep in mind that it does wobble a little bit. So we have the sternum straps up here, and then a ton of different adjustment options. So this is the one that I found worked the best for me. The biggest problem with the sternum straps that I had actually on this and the day bag was that it was super hard to adjust them. So this is kind of like a set it and forget it type deal where, adjusting this is totally fine. That was never really a problem for me. But where I ran into issues was getting this through in order to, get it out and back in. So this I'll do it a little bit slower, but this folds over, takes a little bit of practice, and then you just kind of like shove it through, but it hurts, because you're pushing like a really pointy edge, and then you're trying to grab it over on this side. It gets a little bit tough. You start sweating a little bit, and then it pulls through like that and secures. So on the plus side, super secure, doesn't really, move around very much. The problem is when you're actually going in to do the adjustments. So sometimes it would be really difficult, sometimes it would be super easy. This side here has elastic to, even further add adjustments, and this one here does not. So again, kind of same deal, flip it over, push it through. Of course, it's really easy when I'm trying to show you how hard it is, but same deal with that. So you can adjust it as needed, but I would say in general, try and, adjust it one time and then be done with it, just because it can get a little bit difficult. So then up here, there is a quick grab or a hanging handle, kind of depending on what you want to use it for. And then turn this over a little bit. You can see the top of these straps are a little bit busy, and that's because they're super adjustable. So we have a couple of different points here. We have this, load lifting strap here where you can, have it kind of as high up as you need it to be, depending on where you want to put this, quick release hook as well. So this here, bring it up a little bit closer. It's just a little clamp. So it's a little difficult to do. I found it to be a little hard to push them down. Kind of the same thing where I was trying to set it and forget it. And then you can slip that through it's still attached up here, but you know, say you wanted to lift it up a little bit, depending on, you know, your height or your size or whatever's most comfortable for you. You just add it right back in. Clip that back up. I'm trying to make it so you can see it when I'm doing it. Bag's a little heavy to lift. And then it clips right back. And then you can adjust it. So I'll show you the adjustment from this side here. See, it like has a lot of wiggle room, and then it really locks in. So you can do that on both sides. It really did add a lot of adjustability, just because this is, you know, a pretty hefty 42-liter backpack. So it's going to fit everyone a little bit differently. So adding that adjustability was a really nice touch. It did help with, you know, kind of lifting the load off of my shoulders, but not totally comfortable still. So these edges here are pretty rough. Even though this mesh is really squishy and comfortable, I found that it dug into my neck a lot. So even if I wore t-shirts that had a little bit more coverage, this still managed to kind of wiggle its way towards like the base of my neck here. And over time, you know, the longer that I carried it, the more uncomfortable that I got. But if I were just going from, you know, the car to wherever I was staying, it wasn't too bad. However, I'd be a little bit cautious if I were going to be taking this on a longer trip and really carrying this around to a load of places. So something to keep in mind. Obviously, mileage will vary depending on your own body type, but that is something that I did run into. So the last feature on the outside of this bag here is actually this hidden zippered pocket on the base. And this is for a rain fly. So Gravel doesn't currently have a rain fly, but they did mention that this pocket is intended for that eventually when they do produce that. So something to kind of look out for. Very helpful. I mean, the bag itself is pretty waterproof, or water resistant rather. So it's not something where I was really worried if I got caught in the rain that it would cause me any issues. It's got this very kind of like just very sleek outside to it that cleans off pretty easily as well. Once we get into that day bag, you can see how these sorts of blemishes and any sort of dirt really does rub off pretty easily. So that there is the outside of the bag. So we will get into the inside as well. So the inside of the bag itself is accessible through these zipper pulls on the side. So this actually opens up in a really solid way, just full clamshell, easy to pack, you're good to go. So I've got packing cubes in here, but it kind of depends on how you want to pack it out. So taking these out as an example, I've got, you know, 3 fairly large packing cubes in here filled with all my stuff. I've got an additional pair of fuzzy socks. I'm a big fan of fuzzy socks, a hat, and then, you know, a pair of flip-flops for a hotel or wherever I'm staying. And that all fits very nicely in here. So these are additional little compartment Velcro straps, basically. So it comes with a small one and a large one, but if you want to buy additional ones, those are aftermarket, kind of like these straps here. So this, we do have a couple of extras, so I can show you a few configurations. But in general, it's just this big old bucket. So just like the outside, there's a bunch of loops around the side here, and that is for adding on these compression straps. So like the outside, they just hook in on either side, and you can adjust them to be, you know, kind of how you want them to be. And then, you know, you can say you want to add in a big old packing cube where all these clothes are loose. You can really lock that down. So that's one option, but you really have a ton of freedom with the inside of this just because of, you know, how many additional organization systems that they have. So like these straps here, say you wanted to I don't know, like put them all the way across this way. That works as well. If you wanted to do like diagonals, I don't know, whatever really tickles your fancy here. And then these ones here have Velcro on either side. So this is felted all around these edges. And then you just essentially, it's a little hard to adjust, but you essentially just put it like that. So there's a couple of things that makes this a little bit more difficult. One of them being that Velcro will stick to anything all the time, always. So when I would be trying to find a good place to attach it, it would like catch at weird times, or I'd be moving it and it would stick further up than I wanted it to, or it takes a lot of fussing to kind of get it exactly where you want it. And then it also needs to be perfectly the length of the bag itself. So say for instance you wanted to add on this little guy. He fits right now, but say I wanted to, I kind of ran into this problem myself actually. If I had this packing cube here and here, then this kind of stops fitting naturally. So it gets a little bit stretchy. You can see it's coming off on this side here. So it's not a perfect system, mostly in the sense that you have to configure them to be, to work properly with the length of it. So they're just kind of these, there's like a little bit of a bend in them. So that actually means that you can make them different shapes if you want to do that. So if you have, say you want to just create some sort of like little bucket thing over here to put loose items or anything like that, you have a little bit of freedom there as well. Another thing to note though is that depending on, how full it is in the other pockets, which I'll get into shortly, there can be a little bit of a gap. It's really hard to see. I'm trying to get it so you can see. There you go. Kind of like, there you go. So there's a little bit of space here. It comes right up to the base of the bag here, but because it is just a straight, partition, there's space for things to slip under. So I wouldn't necessarily use this to hold really small items, just by nature of the fact that they could get underneath there. So I kind of use them as just like added support. I'm a big fan of packing cubes just because they do keep things pretty organized. But there was a time when I did use this and I just kind of split it into, see, it kind of like catches before I'm ready. There were a couple of times where I was using it to, create like a little system. You just adjust as you go. And then like that, like this. And then you've got, 6 different compartments depending on how many of these you have in order to fit, a tiny packing cube or smaller gear or anything, if I wanted to put a bunch of fuzzy socks in here, like put a bunch of hats in this way. There's a ton of room for organization, which is really nice. If that's something that is really important to you. But if you don't like organization, you don't have to do it. So that is also great as an option. These small ones you can also bring along. There's 2 mesh pockets right here. These are separate. They do have separate zippers that, come together right in the center area. And it fits right in there. The tall ones do not. So you can see, oh, look, I stole it. Tall ones do not. So that isn't really a storage option. But if you wanted to, like I had it originally, just put it along the edge. So you always have the option later to add more storage, even if you're already on the road, or you can leave them at home. It's, kind of up to your preference. And then over on this side here, you can see we have a zippered pocket as well. And this actually holds the laundry bag. So the laundry bag is sold separate as well, but this pocket obviously is still functional regardless. So you can put small items in here. You can use this as a, small laundry area for really tiny items if that's something that you're interested in. But this laundry bag here is a pretty good size. I found that this little G-hook here didn't really stay in super well. You know, it kind of slipped out pretty easily. That actually became a problem with a few different G-hooks, which I will get into a little bit later. But it folds right up, or rolls right up, I guess, rather. I found rolling to be the easiest, but the biggest problem that I had was that if you roll it, it doesn't fit into the pocket. So it is the designated pocket for it, but if you roll it, you do kind of need to fold it as well to get it in there. It does add a little bit of bulk, but if you're a big fan of laundry bags, then that's a huge bonus as well. So take these out, just for the sake of showing you kind of the bucket here. And then these fit kind of however you'd like. And then like this, pretty easy peasy. You can stick things wherever you want them to be. And it's pretty organized. So this is one of the least, I would say, organized pockets out of all of the pockets kind of in this system. But you do, with those extra dividers, have a lot of different options, and the straps as well, you know, kind of going across. So moving on to another pocket. We have the back pocket, which I have a tendency to lose the zippers on this thing, so they're easy to find with, you know, these loops being as big as they are, but still I'll forget like where I zipped it, you know, and kind of where I put it. This here as well has lockability to it. So this opens full clamshell as well. And this is like the tech pocket. So this here fits up to a 16-inch laptop, and it's just a Velcro stabilizer here. This is a 13-inch, fits in there nice and snug. This is all felt, so like if you don't want to deal with this little strap here, you can like stick it somewhere else. But I just kind of kept it there. It's pretty easy to get into if you want to just like slip your hand in and pull your laptop out, just because opening this fully every single time can get a little bit obnoxious, but they did make it pretty easy to just like kind of get your hand in there. And then this pocket here gives you access to the frame sheet, which has a little bit of a rod here for stability down the center so that your tech doesn't bend, but it's still comfortable on the back. And then on this side, we have a big old mesh pocket. You can probably, you know, just do that if you wanted to. So it's definitely up to you. I found myself just putting larger things in here, but definitely sticking to flat items. So I've got my mouse, and then over here I have headphones. So I kept it pretty easy in this back pocket. You know, you can I put larger chargers in here as well, like my battery banks and everything like that. So there is a lot of space, but because this is really like the entire back of the backpack, it's an area where you're going to want to keep things pretty flat, just because adding bulk does start to, you know, impact how much it comes out there, or it'll cut into the full area of your bag as well. So then you can just zip that right back up, all the way around. Pretty easy peasy. And then the other pocket we have is this one here. So this one is the only pocket that doesn't have these big zippers, and that keeps it really low profile so that it's, you know, not all of these are clashing. But this was another zipper where I lost it a lot. So like I couldn't find it like on either side, or I lost it up top. Obviously that's just like a small nuisance. It's not like the zipper fell off or anything. I just had a little bit of trouble finding it. So this opens up here, and this is a dedicated pocket for a DOP kit or a toiletry bag. Whatever you have. I actually was able to fit This is, kind of what I use just on the regular, and then I have a clear one if I want to travel with any liquids, and those do fit side by side. So in general, this pocket has a ton of space to it, so if you wanted to carry a ton of gear, then that is something that's easier to get to when you're standing in the TSA line. You only have to unzip essentially this pocket and then this back pocket to get to your laptop to take everything out. So this is also where this day bag fits. So this is completely empty, and completely empty it fits in this top pocket, which is a really neat feature because you can take along your day bag without needing to actually carry it as a separate item. So you can use this little sling bag as your personal item, stick your backpack in here, carry all of your travel gear in here. Once you get to your destination, unpack, do whatever you need to do, stick your daily use items, all of your EDC in this 11 liter here, and then carry that while you're actually, at your destination. So we'll kind of get into this guy here. Zip him back up and put it off to the side for later. So this is the 11 liter travel day bag. So it's, as you can see, it's very similar. It's just essentially a smaller version of this 42 liter. So much, much, much smaller, obviously. But it has that same front pocket zipper here. This is something where, kind of use as an example, you would use this mostly for all of your everyday carry and things like that. It essentially was only big enough to fit my phone, but a wallet could go in here as well, and then a passport also. Should just grab that. That fits there. It's a little bit big for a passport wallet or something. It does start to butt up against this area here, so that's something to keep in mind if you're a big fan of passport wallets. Pretty subtle branding, just like on the 42 liter over here. And then it's got that same mesh on the back, but it's the full mesh back plus that luggage pass-through, very low profile. Again, this is something that you're probably going to be traveling with inside this larger one, but if you do carry it on its own, then that's a great option to have as well. So this can be carried in technically 4 different ways. So we have the handle on the side here, which makes it like a little briefcase. And then there's a strap here hiding somewhere. There it is. There's a strap here and then a strap in this front pocket. And then you can carry it like a little tote. It's very subtle. And then you can carry it as a backpack, and then you can actually attach it to this. So kind of slowing down a little bit, we have this pocket here that it essentially just holds this, but the pocket itself is like the entire length of this bag. So you can put, a notebook or something smaller in there if that's something that you want to do. And then on the back here, or the side here rather, is where you have this D-ring for attachments similar to how you have on this 42 liter. And then, let me actually show you this top pocket first. This top pocket is like a quick grab pocket for anything, you're gonna want to get access to pretty quickly, obviously. So you can put a wallet in here, you can put a passport in here. It's kind of up to you how you want to do this. I generally put anything that I wanted to get to quickly in here. So there's a little clip for keys as well. And then I would just put my wallet and passport or, anything like that in there. And then there's a few different pockets. So I'll just pull this liner out actually to give you a little bit of a better view. So there's 2 larger pockets on either side, and then on one of the larger pockets are 2 smaller pockets. I didn't find myself using the smaller pockets a ton, but I did like that it was there as an option just because there isn't a ton of general organization on this one like there is in the larger 42 liter, just by nature of the fact that it's so small. So same deal, felt inside, keeps everything pretty soft. And then looking at these backpack straps, they tuck into this back mesh panel. And I noticed that they don't stick in all the way very well. So I have them tucked in right now, and if I were to stick my hand in here, I can feel the very end of the straps, and they come all the way to the bottom and then kind of curve up. So it's almost like these straps are a little bit longer than the pocket itself. So whenever I have this, totally flat with nothing on it in here, it's still a little bit bulky on the outside. So I've got the 2 straps here. They pull out pretty easily. You can tuck that little strap back in. Velcro keeps it shut tight. You can see it's already so much lower profile. And then these straps here at the base come out. And this is where you attach the backpack straps. So I have the sternum strap attached. But this hooks in here, really simple and easy. And then this hooks in here, same deal, simple and easy. And then that's backpack carry. So it's very easy to get everything kind of set up and ready to go. The one problem I mainly ran into was that if I were to set this down somewhere and then quickly grab it, a lot of the times these came out. So they came out really easily. No matter really what I did, I couldn't really find a way to always set it down in a very specific way that it would never come undone. I just kind of gambled basically. So I would grab the backpack and sometimes it would be fine. Sometimes one would fall off more than the other, and then it would switch and they would trade, and it comes out super easily. So there's not really a lot of security, as you can see. Trying to get it to autofocus there, yeah. So it comes out, it slips in, see, it just fell right out right there. So that's something that was a bit of an annoyance. Something that I really noticed frequently, just because it was such, a huge part of this backpack, is the fact that the straps should probably stay on. And I did run into that problem almost every single day. So something to keep in mind, that could get a little bit irritating. And then on the back here, you've got the sternum straps. Same deal. These ones are more difficult to get through. So I'll see if I can actually get this one through. It's kind of like an art to it. It feels like the attachment loops are just so tight that, I found myself, this is the one that has that kind of the same as the other one, a little bit of added elastic to increase adjustability when you actually have it on. But it also adds material bulk. So, this is the one I actually struggled with the most out of all of them, but it was trying to get it through here was a huge fight every single time. So I generally just kept it on so that I didn't have to deal with it. But it was the same deal. It just put up a fight. So depending on the positioning I had it in, it could get a little bit awkward. So then, one last thing for the backpack mode here is this hip belt here. So this is more of a waist belt just because of the size of the actual backpack itself. But that's, adjustable as needed, and you can put that, right around your waist to add a little bit of stability in addition to these sternum straps. So because it's 11 liters, I didn't really find myself needing the extra stability, but I did take this on a bike ride, and it was nice to have the option for sure. And then if you're not using them, they just tuck right in. You can see there's like a little bit of a hole there to give you access. And then they tuck. And then they tuck in and they're out of the way. So kind of keeping this guy in backpack mode here. Here, let's see if I can actually, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Get him back in. Man, it's like being really nice to me today. It wasn't always very nice to me. And then if you want to take these off this way, this is the last way to carry the backpack. So there are hooks up here as well, similar to the ones down here, same G hooks. Those detach, and you can actually attach them to the travel backpack. So if you look here, how we used these two straps before with these, these additional attachment straps, that actually functions with the day pack as well. So you hook that in here and hook that in here, and then it hangs off the backpack itself. And then you hook that here, you hook it here. Hypothetically speaking, you should probably tug away the backpack straps first, though it doesn't really make a huge difference. So it hooks on either side like that, and then up at the top. So it's kind of hard to see. You can kind of see how it, fits against this front of the backpack. So if you're wearing this and you kind of want to just double up in terms of not do that like weird back front carry thing, then that's a great option. It's a nice little added feature. They did a really great job at including features that just make carryability a lot more customizable. So there are so many different ways to carry either of these bags. The other way is to go on this backpack, having this backpack on your body, and then putting this one on top of it this way. So this rests on the front of your body. So you kind of sandwich yourself in between the two of them. So this is something where you're going to need to obviously put this backpack on first and then put this one on. So I found that it got a little bit awkward just because you do attach these ones up. There are these little chains up here. Attach them this way. Attach it again this way. And then it, hangs off the front. It hangs pretty low, but not like uncomfortably low. And then, you have access to everything you need kind of right on the front of your body here, especially like this kind of pocket if you're keeping your phone in there, or this pocket here. So that's a really great feature as well, but it is a little bit awkward to get this on when you have this larger backpack on your body. So obviously that's, something to get used to, but also something to keep in mind. So getting this guy out of the way once more. All right, so looking at this here, we have two different pockets that kind of give you access to the bag. So we have this main pocket, which is right at the front. So you can see that like this is the back panel, this is like the entire bucket, and then it's essentially just like right there where it unzips and opens up into a little bucket. So similar to the 42 liter, you do have a divider here that comes with it, but the dividers are not interchangeable. So this one is a little bit smaller. I can kind of show you the comparison once everything stops sticking together. It's a completely different height and width. So this one here doesn't fit. It just is simply too tall. So you really only have this one here when it comes to being able to pack this out. So in terms of what actually fits inside, again, kind of you have these additional tie-down straps that buckle everything in really nicely. I found myself just kind of dumping everything in here. So I didn't use the divider a ton. It's something that I mostly just put to the side, or I just kept it kind of flat. And then it was out of my way so that I could utilize this pocket for, you know, a notebook or documents or anything like that. And then for, you know, this main part here, I used everything for my everyday carry. And then similar to the 42 liter, there is another water bottle pocket that expands and comes apart. And this actually fits not 40 ounces, but up to 32. So again, super handy. If you know, water bottle pockets are a must for you, then it's great. But they also hide away so well that if you don't really care for them, it doesn't matter and it doesn't impact the outside of the bag itself. You obviously do lose a little bit of capacity just because the water bottle is taking that up, but that's kind of to be expected with any sort of internal water bottle pocket. And then zip that up when you're done, and you are good to go. So kind of as an example here, like using a notebook, that fits in really nicely there. So I also used it in a pinch as a laptop pocket, though there is a designated laptop pocket. So I will actually get into that right now. So this main compartment, pretty simple, pretty easy. And then just zip it back up. So the last compartment here on this backpack is actually kind of hidden in the back. So you can see that there is a bit of a seam here. I can bring that up closer to you actually. So it's right along that back edge, and it actually goes the entire back edge similar to this larger backpack here. So the zipper pulls kind of stay wherever you have them, zip all along, and then it opens up into a full clamshell. So this is essentially the same exact pocket as is the laptop pocket on this 42 liter. So what this is in terms of like differences between the two of them, pretty minor. Obviously it's a less secure laptop sleeve. This here is, you know, that thicker kind of felt. And then this one here has a felt to the back of it, not a ton of padding, honestly. It's, you know, pretty minor. I think it really relies on this mesh backing to add that extra stability. And then this here is a pretty thin liner as well. So this does have a little bit of a gusset on the side to make it, you know, expandable so that if you have a larger laptop, or like in this case I have, you know, my 13-inch laptop and then the keyboard, I have both of those in here and it's able to fit both of them. But, you know, say I want to take my keyboard out, it does, you know, lack a little bit of stability there just because it can come off of that back. But that said, when you do close these together, they kind of secure itself. It secures itself. So over on this side here, it's the same with this bottom mesh and then the top tighter mesh. The same thing with the zippered pocket up here. I have headphones, this elastic one here. I have my charger, and then the charging cord is in this zippered pocket, along with just a regular charging cord and my mouse. So what's nice about this is that you do have both of these pockets here that are zippered versus just the one on this one, because this one is elastic. So I do like that there's a little bit more security. I think it would have been nice to see on this as well, just because, you know, if you have a ton of smaller items, it's really easy for them to just fall around. Or, you know, if you run out of space here, then you can always use a tech pouch and put it in this main compartment. So it's kind of up to you in terms of what you prefer, because it is, you know, with all of this in here, which is, you know, stuff that I would carry on a daily basis, this gets a little bit tight to close. And obviously I don't have anything in this main compartment, so it's gonna lack structure, you know, pretty naturally. But, you know, if I want to zip that up, it's a little bit tight to pull from this bottom where it loops around. And then right now, when I have it laying down on the table, it's moved all the way to the side. So I think a little bit of extra security would have been nice to see with this pocket here. But it is handy to have if you like to keep your tech stuff separate and quick to access. So that is the last on this bag here. So I'll move that off to the side. And then the last thing we're going to talk about is this hip belt sling combo. So I have it attached to the 42 liter, how you'd wear it as a hip belt, like I talked about before. It just kind of sits like this. And then you have these external pockets for quick grabs, and then these two larger pockets. So how this actually works is you detach it from the bag, move the bag out of the way, and then you have the two sides of the sling. So you can, for ease, just do that. This has a zipper on either side, so you can connect these two together. Again, all YKK zippers throughout. And then get it in, zipper right up, and now it is a functional sling. So these buckles here that connected to the backpack do stick out. So what I usually would do is buckle them together just to add a little extra stability and keep them out of the way. This is the same mesh, like that thick mesh that's on both of the other backpacks. So it's super comfortable to wear. I found that when it was on the actual backpack itself, it added a lot of support. It was just a little bit clunky. And then what you'll do is you buckle it back together, expand it to be whatever length you need, and then you've got a sling. So how this actually sits on you just kind of depends on your body type, obviously, as most bags are. But I found that this really came off of me. So it is so blocky that when I put it on, it had a hard time wrapping around me. So what ended up happening is it stayed really stiff and straight. And then this part here started to kind of separate and come out a little bit. And then, the top would be a little bit, there'd be a big gap here when it's resting against my body, which you can actually see in some of the photos in the review. So that's something to keep in mind, that I wouldn't necessarily, me personally, wear this sling on its own. It just felt very bulky and awkward, but the functionality is really nice. So the fact that this is this big old hip belt that sits on this big backpack, that's huge for it to come off and just kind of function on its own. So another thing that you can do with this is if you're on the plane and you want to have quick access to it, instead of like sticking under the seat like a personal item, you can use it sort of like on your tray table. So if you flip your tray table down so it's resting over the top of this, you clip it over the tray table, clip it together, lift the tray table back up, and then it sits in front of you on the seat like this, and you can get into any of these pockets. So looking in closer detail at the pockets here, we've got two separate pockets on either side of the sling. Both of them look different, and this is intentional so that you can kind of remember where your stuff is. So in this instance, over on this one here, you can see it's like the aqua guard, so it's nice and secure there. I have my phone in here. So I remember, I'm a very forgetful person. I forget what pockets I have everything in, and then instead of sifting through everything, you can just say, okay, my phone is in the pocket that's not covered with the fabric welt. And the fabric welt over here, you can kind of put whatever you want in there. Currently, I don't have anything, but if you want to do like headphones, or if you're going to be working on the plane and you want to have like your mouse or anything like that, that would work. And then, so those are the two front pockets, and then each one has a larger pocket as well. So these same zipper pulls as on the rest of the backpack. And then this opens up in kind of like a half clamshell. So it starts here and goes all the way down to one side instead of going all the way down to the other side, because then obviously everything would fall out the bottom. So that is intentional. But here I have my wallet. If you wanted to stick your phone in here for a little extra security, that works as well. It's kind of up to you based off of how you like to organize your gear. It is pretty flat on the top here, and then on the bottom, it has that room for expansion. So it stays pretty flat if you don't have anything in here, but the more stuff that you add in, and it can fit a fair amount of things. I believe it's, yes, it's 2 liters. So it can fit a fair amount of gear here. So it does expand to accommodate. And then the other side is the same type of opening, keep my keys and things in here so that everything is really quick to access. And then say you're done with it, you're getting off the plane, you take that apart, take this apart, unzip, and then you can clip it right back in here. So it's pretty easy peasy there. This clips back together, and then you've got a ton of extra length. So these here can only go so far. So you stick them in to this little gap pocket here, which holds that extra adjustment material. Same deal for this side. Ooh. Stick that right in. And then you are good to go, ready to roll. So it's kind of up to you in terms of a preference. I found that this to be very comfortable. It added a lot of support to the backpack in general. So I did find it to be useful if I was using the backpack and had a lot of gear in there, but it wasn't really, I wouldn't really consider it my style, I guess, to wear it just as a sling. Again, kind of showing you how it comes back together. Gotta want to add that extra length for ease of zipping. A little bit fussy with the buckles if you don't really lock it in. And then you have your sling. So pretty comfortable, all in all, between all 3, backpacks here. I'll kind of get them all in sight as a refresher. Between all 3, they go together very well, both in style and in function. I think it was nice to see the intentionality between all of that. Although I think that there was a little bit more than I needed, just kind of for my regular travel. I think this would be great if you were going over long distances and you wanted as much carryability as possible. So there you have it, the Gravel Travel Backpack System. Thanks for keeping it here at Pack Hacker, your guide to smarter travel. We'll see you in the next video.